talk over top of each other.
We're live. Hey guys.
All right, awesome. Jimmy, my man, how are you? All right, so this is the first official Sales Sniper Coffee is for Closers podcast. Hope you guys like the intro. In case you didn't understand it, it is a total ripoff and piss take of the, I believe it's the Boiler Room.
Boiler
speech.
Room, Ben Affleck.
Yeah, that Ben Affleck gives when he's got all the newbies coming in his office telling him how rich they're going to get. So I hope you understood it was ironic and that we're not that much of a fucking douchebag. But
if you haven't seen that movie, go watch it. Every salesperson should have by now.
Exactly. Teaches you a horrible, horrible ethics in sales, but you know, it's okay. It's fun to watch. All right, so I'm Matt, and this is James, and
Guys, how are you?
we run a sales agency, and we're people who close ourselves. And we just wanted to do this podcast so that we could, I guess, kind of bring, I guess, like some brevity into the world of sales and not be like a full sales training podcast, just something that's kind of like, this is what we're doing. We're in the trenches every single day. We're selling day in, day out, and we have a team that sells day in, day out. And so some of the stuff we come up against, do some interviews with some people, talk about courses that we're doing or courses that we see that we think can add some value, and then just sort of talk about some of the bullshit, weird things that happen when you talk to a lot of people on a regular basis.
To be completely honest with everyone, we just wanted a reason to sit around for an hour and chat shit and still feel like we're being productive just about the sales industry and everything that we're doing right now, as well as have a great excuse to bring on some really cool guests and get to spend time and learn from them if we're really honest.
Get some free training for completely honest.
Sure.
That was the whole plan. So so basically how it's going to work is we're just going to talk shit. If you want to like and subscribe, by all means. And have a listen to us talk shit week in, week out. We'll attempt to do it every week, but I make no promises. Because if it comes between doing this and making a couple grand commission, I know which one I'm doing. So there you go.
Although in between all of that chatting shit, there will be a whole bunch of really good gold nuggets to take out of, as well as special guests and tips and tasks that you guys can take and apply directly into your businesses, your sales, or whatever it is that you guys do listening. Hello, Mum and Dad.
Yeah, the tens and tens of listeners at home. All right, so I'll give you a quick background on who I am. My name is Matt. I'm the founder of Sales Sniper, which is an agency where we started off doing fitness sales because that was my background, was doing just loads and loads and loads of selling fitness over the phone, taking credit card, having to get good at that because I felt like eating was a good idea. And then from there, moved into doing some high ticket stuff. And then from there, got fairly good at that. Started working with the guys like Traffic and Funnels and Eli Wild and a couple other dudes and Vanessa Horn. And then started getting more and more and more people inquiring through the fitness stuff because I got pretty busy. We were selling for gyms. I brought James on as a partner to help organize because I'm a pretty classic salesperson. So like I'm relatively unorganized. So I needed someone to be able to make it work because I think we had like fucking 15 gyms that we were selling for. And like at one point I was the only salesperson. We're pretty busy. And then we started taking on employees, started getting more staff. And then all of a sudden we had people in the US, the UK, Canada, Australia, all selling for us. We slowly but surely moved away from selling for the gyms just because it was a lot of work for not a massive financial payoff. But we didn't really know that there was a world out there where you could get paid $2, $3, $4, $5 grand a call. Once we discovered that there was, we pretty quickly moved into that world, got some success early on, and then just got a bunch of referrals. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, now we have 8 guys on our books that we do sales for all over the world. Actually, I think 9 now.
Sorry, I was talking about closers, not
oh
clients.
yeah, I think we have like 9, maybe 9 or 10 clients. Everyone's doing sort of north of a couple $100 grand a month. Some are doing a couple $1 million a month, and we act as like a remote sales team. So someone can come to us and go, hey, listen, I'm a pretty successful dude. I hate running a sales team. I need an international sales force. And I'm like, yep, sweet. That's cool, dude. And then we set up the entire system. We make sure that it works for us. And then we kind of bend their system to work around us. And that's where James comes in because he does all the systemization work. and then I do all the sales stuff. So write the scripts, make sure the guys are on top of it, make sure that the offer is sellable. And then from there, we go forth and we sell. So we might have, a couple of guys and a couple of accounts. The reason why we do it that way is, one, to mitigate the risk for the influencer or the client. So if somebody goes down, there's always someone else to service the leads. Also, we want, I don't think any one closer, and this is information for everyone at home, should ever only have one client. I think it's a really bad idea. Even if that person can fill you up, I would recommend that you don't let them and you have at least two. The reason being is because ad accounts get shut down all the time. And if you're a commission only guy and their ad account gets shut down, you might not get leads for 6 to 8 weeks. It'd be very unlikely that you had both of your guys get shut down at the same time. So
possible. We have had that.
Yeah, it is possible. We had 5 of them during the Facebook adpocalypse that happened in January. So yeah, but that's kind of to mitigate your risk and make sure that you can continually make income. And so that's kind of what we do. So we help closers, we train them. We have Eli Wild, who trains all of our staff, and then I do as well. And then, we just make sure that the guys are happy, that they don't have to interact with the client too much, because who wants to do that? And guys can just do what they want. No admin, just pick up the phone, sell, and go from there. So that's kind of a brief introduction on us. Also, we usually sell around $1 to $2 million worth of products and services a month. That's kind of where we sit. We'd like to get that up to probably 3 to 4. I think that's probably our goal. But for now, we're doing well. We're kicking goals, even in this crazy economic climate. We're still banging out. I think we made 26 sales this month so far, which is low for us,
low average,
but it's still pretty good.
And then with that considering.
Yeah. And so James, you want to just give a bit of background on you?
Sure. I guess my background is I was a fitness guy myself, same as Matt. I was a strength and conditioning coach, mostly around elite sports. Worked for a couple of elite sporting organizations around Australia, traveled around Australia with our teams and whatnot. And then the next stage for that was obviously started my own PT business, which I did pretty successfully. Within about a year, grew to 4 to 5 staff members working at me, where I would do the marketing and sales for them, fill them up with clients, and I'd take a big percentage of all of the revenue that they'd got for doing the clients. But I only got to that stage because I had to figure out how to do sales, because I've never done it in my life. And funnily enough, I met Matt through some other colleagues, and they put me onto his course. I did his course around marketing and sales. That was probably 10 years ago now. So that's where we met. Then from there, learned how to do sales, got pretty good at it. Then we obviously kept in contact and opened a couple of gyms together, where we were doing a lot of sales. I think the record we did for one gym opening was 3 weeks. We did about 217 sales for a gym membership between us in 3 weeks.
That's all closed credit card over the phone, which is kind of like what our specialty is. Yeah.
I think, if I can remember, it was back then about $150 to $200 for 4 weeks. So we obviously
I think it was 147, and then right at the end we dropped it to 97, and I think the last day it was 47 to try and get another 4 or 5 in the door. So that was where we kind of got our start, and then James ran those gyms, and I sort of continued to go around and sort of open them. And then when we left that organization, we were like, we know how to open gyms. We know how to sell them.
Organizations.
Yeah. Then we're like, let's just do that component, because the delivery for gyms is a nightmare, but the sales is not that difficult if you know how to do it.
Yeah. And it was easy to be able to work from home, and
it was
have to do 5 a.m. starts from the fitness.
And I've got 2 kids, so I wanted to work at home, because when I was running gyms, I was at work at 5:30, and then I would come home and I would go 2 or 3 days without seeing my kids, because I would be back and forth, and I was always home during their naps and shit. So I was like, this is ridiculous. So when I got the opportunity to be bought out, I took that, and then me and James went in together, and we've been going strength to strength ever since. Sales Sniper is now a 7-figure company. And we've really only been running for probably 12 months. So we've been.
I wouldn't say that. I'd say 6 months. We kind of messed around with it for about 6 months with just us doing things randomly, not actually taking it serious. Then, as Matt said, we realized that we could do high-end calls and realized that there was a whole nother world out there where the commissions were higher. And we're like, oh, wow, that was really easy to get sales. Let's study this. Let's learn how to do it better. Let's get more clients. And then from there we expanded. We legitimately made a company, and that was about 6-7 months ago, and we've been taking it serious ever since. So it's been very, very quick growth for us.
Yeah, it has been. And I think like, not to toot my own horn, I've got kind of a natural ability when it comes to selling coaching, because I've probably done so many fitness sales, and I've also been a fitness coach, so I understand how to coach people. So I think the first high-end, high-ticket program that I was selling was, I think it was like 26,000 at that point, and I sold like 6 in the first week, which like almost matched the record for the company. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm good at this. And then from there, we were like, okay, this is definitely the way to go, because that was $2,000 a sale. So we went from a company that was doing probably 20,000 a month to a company that was doing 10,000 a week pretty much overnight. So and then it's just kind of grown from there, and we've definitely made some mistakes with letting people get too excited and having them us take over their entire sales process immediately. And like, I've become the head of sales of 3 or 4 different companies with literally no training. But I think we've come a long way. We've learned a lot, and we have a good system that works for both the client and the closer.
Yeah, for sure. But enough about that. Let's talk about what we had to talk about.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to start by sort of giving an introduction of exactly what we want to do with this podcast.
Why you should listen to us, God damn it.
Yeah, why you should hit that subscribe button. That's probably somewhere. We haven't figured that out yet.
We don't even know where it is. We haven't even set up the RSS feed yet. So there you go.
All right.
This will go out to nowhere.
I guess the main thing was, one, as we said, we wanted to bring a lot of guests on. We got a couple of wild cards that are coming in.
Well, we lined up Eli Wild. We'll get Jeremy Miner on, who's my mentor at the moment. And then I've also got Drew B. Wilson, for you guys know. He's Ryan Stewman's like right-hand man, the hardcore closer. So he's going to come on and talk about selling with memes and a couple other things. I've done his meme course, which is a lot of fun. I love memes. It's one of my favorite pastimes. So we got some cool guests that are lined up for the next couple of weeks. And hopefully it's not going to be pitch fest, and it's not going to be like overload of education. It's going to be more like what makes these guys tick, and what are they doing, really? Just try and make it more interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And we don't want to restrict that just to specific sales. So obviously want to get some people on like accountants, coaches, a bit of mindset stuff as well. So things that aren't direct sales, but will improve your ability to sell. I talk a lot about systems and tracking, do some podcasts on that. Because
I expect we'll have people like Tony Robbins, probably Barack Obama, a couple people like that, just a couple of low-key individuals to come
maybe even Joe Rogan.
Well, he's reached out to me a few times, so I'm sure we can sort something out. Yeah, he heard that we had like 3 or 4 listeners, so he wanted to increase his reach. All right, let's talk about the coronavirus.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously that's one of the biggest things that we've ever seen as within this day and age. Obviously not within the history, and it's really, really shaken up the industry, because there's certain niches that one will either need to drastically change their offer or fade away, and then there's other industries that are actually booming right now because their service is something that can go online. So we'll have a bit of a chat about what we found in the coronavirus, and then just as well what else is going on in the world of sales. It's going to be one of the major part that we do, is just the world of sales, where we go over everything that's affecting sales, new books that come out, new courses that have opened up that we've taken, what we're finding within the calls that we have. And obviously coronavirus is going to be one of the major factors with that right at this moment. So why don't you tell me what you found over the last couple of weeks with the calls that you've been taking up?
So it's been really interesting, right? Because like, I think the framework is more important than ever right now. And I think like I've been on some accounts that have really struggled. signed up actually a lot of people and had a lot of people pull out because of, their businesses getting shut down or a lot of things like that. And I think right now the offer is extraordinarily important. And then the framework that you use and the pipelining right now. I think right now, and I could be wrong, but I think I'm right, is I think if you push people too hard right now, you're going to get a lot of resistance and you're going to burn a lot of leads. And I think the goal for a lot of people during a very uncertain time should be to get as many sales as possible, but also pipeline as many people as possible. So as soon as it does normalize, and I don't mean normalize by going back to normal, I mean normalize by people being okay with how it is right now. This could last for 6 months.
They've got some certainty. The fear is gone.
We just don't know, right? So if everyone knows the world is going to be like this for at least 6 months, then people can start to realign their buying habits. And then we can start to realign offers for it to make sense. But right now, either the offer is really in line with what people want, and so they're buying, or the offer hasn't changed, and it means that there's a friction point between, like, it seems like the program is out of touch with what's going on right now.
Yeah,
which makes it seem a little bit more disingenuous and harder to sell. Personally, I'm switching over to Zoom selling, whereas I never do Zoom selling because I want to be able to look people in the eye and I want to be able to read their body language better, which is something that my mentor Jeremy Miner has sort of suggested, and I'm not going to pay the dude as much money as I have, and then like not listen to him, because building up that certainty right now I think is a really key point. And if the offer, I think the business owners and the coaches that we work for as closers, I think if they're willing to adjust their offerings and be fluid with how they work right now, then they're going to be successful. I think the ones who are really rigid in how they do things and not willing to look at things realistically are really going to struggle. And that's what we've seen. But it takes everyone a little bit of time to figure out what works. Like, there is no right answer right now. We don't really know what's going to go on, but I believe in the next couple of weeks it's going to start to normalize a little bit. People will adjust their buying habits. Government subsidies are kicking in all over the world. It's $1,500 a fortnight, so every 2 weeks in Australia, and I think it's $1,200 every 2 weeks in the States. The UK is paying 80% of everybody's wages. There's a lot of things that are kicking in, which I think are going to start to bring people back into the fold of wanting to buy and wanting to spend the money that they're making back into the economy. One, because they're being encouraged to do it. There's no point just sitting on this cash. And two, because of some of the benefits of investing right now. If you didn't have a marketing strategy before, now is the time to get one. You know what I mean? So, and I think hopefully what this has done is really like just woken people the fuck up to get their shit together. A lot of people have just been head down, ass up, plowing through, just doing their job and not thinking about their actual business. And I think, like, Billie Jean's marketing, I think, was fantastic. Most people know who Billie Jean is, right? He's a fantastic marketer from the US, and his whole marketing campaign is like, don't let this happen again. Have some stability, get some cash flow, have a way to get leads, make sales, build up some money in the bank, and don't do this to your family ever again. And I think that's a really real message. And, I personally bought a $30,000 sales coaching program 2 days ago because I know that right now it's harder to sell. So I want to be taught by who I consider to be the best in the world to teach me how to give more certainty. So that's kind of the way that I see it right now. I think it's definitely affecting some industries harder than others, like people who are business coaches for physiotherapies and, having to pivot those guys to do telehealth and all that kind of stuff. It's difficult, and a lot of people don't believe in it, so they don't necessarily want to do it. And I think all the people who are in programs who are on the fence are just going to use this as an excuse to leave. So I think a lot of coaching businesses are going to be a lot of coaching businesses are going to be decimated by this, but hopefully they survive and it starts to normalize in the marketplace pretty soon. But yeah, it's definitely been harder for sure. I think anyone who says it's not been harder is just in a niche that's like lucked out,
Or they're full of shit.
Yeah, that's a big one too. Most salespeople are totally full of shit, and most are not very good at what they do. That's the unfortunate truth. And that's, because you can just do a course now for 8 weeks and then call yourself a high ticket closer. But it's like, Like it's, it's funny. I had someone come to me a while ago and they're like, hey, I want to do closing for you. I want to learn off you, do some accounts. I was like, okay, like what's your experience level? And they're like, oh, I've done this course and this course. I go, okay, but you've never sold anything? Like, no. I was like, all right, man. Like, well, I'm going to do you a disservice by letting you do this. Like just because you've done those courses, like it doesn't mean like you can actually put it in practice. Like you need to learn how to smile and dial. You need to learn how to like do triages. You need to learn how to like sell low to medium ticket before you're going to jump in and sell $50,000 programs. And they didn't take my advice. They went off and now
they're a unicorn.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's just aren't people who can just do that, And so like you're really having that like low to medium ticket stuff under your belt allows you to be more resilient in sales because you get a lot of no's and allows you to objection handle better. And it just gives you a good framework so that you can come in and be more successful.
The major thing, what I think is really important if you're a salesperson coming in who doesn't have experience and want to jump into high ticket is don't do it because you're going to get fired from a lot of people. One, for the realization is that it costs a lot of money on marketing to get you onto a sales call with someone. And if you don't
usually have at least $1,000.
Yeah, and if you don't have any experience in closing that's going to piss your employees off real fast, and there's only so much money that they're willing to spend to get you trained. The other thing is you typically don't develop the what's the word I'm looking for, the respect of the leads that come through because they're booked into your calendar ready for a call and they're hand delivered to you. Once you actually go through the low ticket where you have to smile and dial, sit on the phone for 4 hours to have a good conversation, have a chance at closing someone, that's where you actually develop the gratitude of those leads and understand how important each lead is. Like a lot of people in this industry settle for a 20 to 30% conversion rate and are typically happy with that.
I would fire anybody who had a 30%.
Yeah, solely because of that's what the industry standard is. That's what they're used to. And they don't have to work for those leads. But, that's 7 that you didn't sell. If you were on the phone and realized how hard it was or how much cash it costs to get in front of those 7 people to pitch to, and you're losing so many of them, when the ROI is not there, you just don't have the gratitude for it, and you don't do the follow-ups, you don't grind, you don't do the callbacks because you don't have the respect for how worthwhile that lead is to you. And with our guys that don't have a lot of experience with high ticket closing, we put them through some pretty vigorous stuff to get them to that stage before we allow them to start training on high ticket calls by
well, like Rode, right? So Rode's a guy with a lot of sales experience selling corporate stuff. Like I think he was head of sales for Verizon for a while in their B2B. And he came on to us, wanted to start closing. And I was like, dude, I would be doing you a massive disservice by letting you do that. So if you want, I'll fill you up with as much appointment setting as you can, and then we'll get you on triages. So for those of you who don't know, like we use that sort of Tucky Moore's black belt sales method a lot, which is like the 15-minute pre-qualification call, which I think is a great thing. If you're not doing it, I highly recommend it. The reason is so that you just don't get a whole bunch of crap people in your diary who have no intention of buying. You book out 45 minutes, like you let this influencer book out 45 minutes in your diary, eight of them in a day, and all of a sudden 4 of them don't turn up and 2 of them are only qualified and you can only make 1 sale. Like it's really disheartening.
Waste your time when you're a good salesperson.
It's a huge waste of your time. So just book them in for 15 minutes and then you can decide who goes through, right? And then that gives you a lot more leverage in terms of like giving them feedback in the marketing and stuff like that. So but that's a conversation for another day when it comes to like in-depth tracking. But yeah, Rode, so we were like, hey man, so yeah, come on, listen, we'll do like a 3 to 6 month development plan where you're going to be doing appointment setting and triages. First it's appointment setting, so smiling and dialing everyone who doesn't book themselves in. Then we'll get you figuring out how to qualify people and book them into the closers. Then once you're good at that, then we'll get you booking in some of your own sales calls. And then once you're good at that, then we'll have you just doing triages and closing. And that's when you can start to make, a couple $1,000s a week easy.
Yeah.
So but that transition, it takes a while, and it's important so that you understand the value of leads and so that you don't burn stuff. And so you can understand, like you can either fill your diary up with crap, and if you're doing that on purpose, it's okay. But if you're just doing it for practice, or you can be much more tactical with the amount of time that you spend. Like I don't just let random, I don't do that anymore. where I just let people who I don't think are qualified through because I don't need the practice. But some people can do that. So that's, I think, a really important steps that people need to take. And just jumping into just doing an 8-week DanLock course, or the Closing Academy, or all these ones, I just don't think it's enough experience to be able to handle $1,000 sales call. That not selling it for $1,000. I mean, it might be a $20,000 sale, but it costs that influencer $1,000 to get that person on a call.
Yeah, I think you got to earn the right, and the way you earn the right is you do the chops, you put the hours in, you get the ability. One, if you can't qualify people by doing your triages first, and you can't qualify people from booking appointments, doing those triages for the closers, you're not going to be able to figure out how to qualify them on the sales call and then develop the pitch based around their needs. So you got to earn the right to, one, do your triages, then do your get on the sales call and earn the right to pitch someone. Then when you're closing enough deals and your time is far more valuable, then you can earn the right to have someone else do your triages for you.
Exactly. So I think that stepping point is really important. I haven't really done much cold calling. I've done a very small amount of it, but again, that's a really good starting point as well. So like the way it kind of graduates is like cold calling leads, having, doing pre-call calls and then closing. So trying to sort of graduate up that chain, I think, is super productive if you want a long-term sales career. Otherwise, like I can tell you what's going to happen, which is you're going to get on a bunch of calls. You're not going to close well. You're going to get super frustrated. The person's going to get frustrated because nothing will go sour quicker than the relationship between an influencer and a seller and a remote salesperson. They will fuck you off immediately. So give yourself the best opportunity to be successful. You can 100% make between $200 and $1 million a year closing from your room. Like, you can do that. You just have to be really good at it.
Yeah. And realize that it's a long-term career and it takes a while to get there. And unless, of course, you are a unicorn.
Like me, myself, I generate at least $50,000 a month worth of commissions. So it can definitely be done. And that's it's not working crazy hours, I can tell you that. But it's just something that you need to practice at and grind at, and I think go through that graduated process. So that's how I did it. And so I think that's a good way. And I've seen people try and do it other ways. And when we had Will come in, so Will's one of our team members. He was one of the head of the DanLock sort of training guys. And he was the best in that, literally the best dude in that community. He came into our team and he was like, oh no. And he won't mind me saying, because he told us that he went from being the highest performer in a very large organization to the lowest performer in a small organization. But now he's a killer. He was pretty good, but now he's much better through working with us and doing more calls and having call recording breakdowns and working on his mindset with James and working on his strategy and tactics with me. So that's kind of a roundabout way. That's our feelings on coronavirus and how you become a good salesperson. Courses and books, the world of sales.
What books are you reading currently? I personally don't read too many books direct sales. I know you do. Well, listen to them.
Yeah, I listen to books. I don't read them.
Only because you can't.
Yeah, because I'm retarded. So I can't spell fridge, but I can lift one, right? So the best book, not the book I'm reading at the moment, because I'm not reading a book at the moment because I'm doing all the sales training course stuff. I think a great book to start with is called The Challenger Sale. That's a really good book. It kind of lets you know where you sit in terms of the world of sales and what type of salesperson you are. Don't give yourself the bias and go, well, I'm definitely the challenger salesperson, because you might not be, but it's good to kind of know, and you can become that type of salesperson. Yeah. So I think that's probably that's a book that changed my thinking on sales, I think. So if you are out there looking for a book, that's definitely one. One of the courses that's interesting me at the moment is definitely the one that Eli's doing with Traffic and Funnels, which is super cheap. It's $97, and it's that inbound closer course.
Recommend.
I think anything that Eli does, I recommend. I really like him. I respect him a lot as a salesperson. I think he's probably one of the top 4 or 5 salespeople in the entire world.
He's doing a very good job training our team. So the more training you can get from him, do it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's only $97. I think what it is really is a way to get really good salespeople. and and then like identify the people who are good. That's what their first one was about. When I did their first 30-day sales mentor challenge, where I won, that's how I met all the guys, because I kept winning like the highest conversion rate, highest amount sold, all that kind of stuff. And that's where I met Eli, and they reached out to me, and I chatted with them for a bit. But yeah, so I think it's cheap because they want to identify good salespeople and then make those people good and then have them sell for them. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I could be wrong, but that's seems like a great way to do it. So yeah, that's a course that's pretty interesting. The course that I'm doing at the moment is I just finished the Jeremy Miner's 7th level NEPQ course, which is like his sales style. I think it's $2,000 or $3,000 US, and it's a course. It's really good. It's structured extraordinarily well if you want to do like high ticket coaching sales, or like if you're selling like a product. So if you're selling like like solar, or if you're selling just stuff like that. Like I think it's really, really good for it. I've just hired Jeremy for one-on-one coaching to sort of take me down the pathway, because I resonate with his style really well. So those are the kind of courses that I think are out there at the moment, which are good. Obviously, there are 10,000 other courses, but those are the ones that have caught my attention, and that I've recently done, or I'm looking at doing. I'll probably buy the inbound closer course just because it's only $100. So fuck it, I'll chuck it down range and see what happens. The last one I did with them was pretty good. So I did the sales mentor course, and I did their 30-day challenge course. I think their sales mentor course was like $1,500 US for like lifetime access. So yeah.
For me personally, I'm obviously not really involved doing direct sales anymore. I do them occasionally for Sales Sniper, but not for any clients. But my job is to make sure the team are all doing well and they're in the right headspace. So right now I'm focusing on just developing some particular habits. So I'm reading Brendan Burchard's High Performance Habits. I'm a bit late to the party with that one, as well as got a couple other books on the book list, which is Atomic Habits and Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life.
That's a good one. I read that like a year ago.
Yeah, so mostly just putting together some of that stuff so we can help the guys with their monthly planning, keep them in the right mindset, particularly through this coronavirus pandemic, because for some guys on some of their cases it's been a little bit slower, others it's been a bit quicker. And that's what we're focusing on, is just getting habits in the right place while there's a little bit more downtime so that we can progress further and quicker in the future. I'm not currently doing any courses right now, or nor looking at any, because I've been way too busy.
And I spent all the money. So.
Pretty much. Right, cool.
Yeah. A really good non-sales that will help you in sales is Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. Just because it talks about, I guess, setting yourself up and becoming consistent and being like the person that you need to be. And I think with sales, a lot of it is about consistency. So like if you have your shit together in terms of like
exactly right,
you're
going to close.
Be a more productive salesperson.
100%.
Sure.
And that's one major part, is you can do all the sales training in the world and do all those closers courses, but if you've got a terrible mindset and you're not in a good headspace to work on that and produce it, you're going to completely suck at sales regardless of your training.
Which is a perfect segue into an argument that I had yesterday. So
yeah.
For a client of ours, I ran a 1-hour sales training session, which I do relatively often for people, like to try and provide them some value outside of us just, being the entire front end of their business and making them being able to eat. But they had a guy on there who was clearly drunk. I didn't realize at the time that he was drunk. I was told later. So when I say he was clearly drunk, I look back at it and I go, yeah, he definitely was. But I didn't know.
Not clear at the time.
Yeah, exactly. So we had a bunch of people, and he just kept interjecting, saying that no one can be taught sales. And I was like, okay, well, that's a very interesting aspect. Why do you think that? And he's a successful dude, but he's clearly a fucking dickhead.
Hope you're listening.
Yeah, fuck him. I'll tell him to his face. I don't know. Yeah, and yeah, so it's really interesting. He said he's been in sales for 25 years, and I mean he's been in sales. He's not a salesperson, but he's he was a salesperson for his own business.
He's probably
and he had all these young entrepreneurs who were looking for help, and he was basically just saying, if you need the right people in the right bus and in the right time, and so all these guys were like, well, if we're just a one-man rock show, what do we do? Just give up? And it was a really interesting conversation, because I'm not a natural salesperson, and his argument was, no, you are. And I was like, well, because I'm good at it, you think I'm natural? And he's like, yes, I've seen you speak really well. You're natural. I go, no, that's a logical fallacy. I was just like, that doesn't make any sense. Because that way there's no amount of information that can be presented to you, which would change your mind. Because if you think that if someone can fly, if someone can fly a plane, you're like, well, that's just a God-given gift. It's like, no, he did courses and he learned how to do it. No, because he can fly, he was given that gift. It's like, well, it's just a stupid way of thinking, right? And so it was really interesting. So I used it as an opportunity to teach. So I tried to put him into, like, I really enjoy logic traps, and I'm a really bad person to argue with because I really enjoy arguing. If I'm talking about something that I'm confident in, I'm very difficult to win an argument against because I like to nitpick individual semantics. And that's how I choose to argue. And it's a very low way of doing it. And I realize that, and my wife hates it. But when you can pick up on the words that people say, and you can use logic traps. And so I was explaining to the guys what I was doing to him while I was doing to, which infuriated him. But that's okay. He was being an asshole. And he said that, no one can be taught sales. So I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make you contradict yourself. And I'm going to make you sound stupid.
How to do that?
So I use what's called a logic trap. So a logic trap is where you take people down a series of questions that only has one outcome, but it contradicts their actual principle that they're trying to talk about. And it's a really good concept in sales when you're using that challenger style, right? So you ask for someone's permission to challenge them, and you want to, it's like the slippery slope argument, right? And the slippery slope argument is, okay, well, if we let someone do this, then by proxy, this and this and this and this and this are going to happen. So someone says, okay, you can't learn sales. You're either natural or you're not. And you go, okay, well, what do you mean by that? You're either natural or you're not. So there's no way that somebody can learn. And so I just took him down a pathway where I needed him to explain how he learned how to do it. And then I was like, so at the end of the conversation, it was, okay, so you did this, this, and this, and this, and that equaled you being good at sales. Yes, I did. Okay, so you learned how to be good. And it was just like, oh, fuck, And that's what a logic trap is. And it's a really useful sales tool if you're doing a coaching or challenging style of sale. Once you get somebody to the point and they have a mindset block over a particular way of thinking, so you expand their way of thinking, ask a lot of questions, because the more questions you ask a flawed line of logic, the more it unravels. Right. And so if someone's being super emotional and heated, within an argument or within a sales call, then you can sort of really dive and probe deep and ask them a long series of questions, which then it just explodes their logic. And then you loop it back to the beginning, and then you expose the fallacy from the beginning, but they do it. So if you tell someone that they're wrong, they're never, ever going to listen to you. But if someone tells themselves they're wrong, then they either listen to themselves or they just get angry and they just, throw the phone on the ground. And so I tried to
another beer in his case.
I tried to use it as a teaching experience. I don't know if it was super productive for him, but I tried to make it as productive as possible for the other people. But it was very interesting to see someone who was so adamant that you could not be taught sales and it was only a natural gift. And what I called him out as the real thing, and this sort of the point that I wanted to bring up, and I was like, well, just because you think you're a natural salesperson doesn't mean that other people can't learn to do what you do. And it was just an ego thing for him. And it was very interesting because he felt he was a natural salesperson, and he might be, but he sucked. All of his tactics that he used were fucking terrible. It was like this slimy 1980s way of selling people that just, puts people that, just kind of digs in the wrong pain.
Yeah, for sure.
It was gross.
Probably speaking to a lot of people that were going to buy his product regardless. You know what I mean? But it's, I agree with him in parts that there is natural salesperson. I also think that those natural salesperson, if they do the same amount of learning, will always be better than someone who's unnatural but still not.
100%. There are dudes like that we know who are natural salespeople, but it's the same thing as talent versus hard work. If you go to the Olympics and you see the people who are super talented, a lot of the time they can get lazy because you easily get to a decent level. So wanting to progress more, if we talk about our main sales guy and then his mate who I won't say, who works, like, who I'm talking about, starts with an R. Like they were at a similar level, or the other guy was even higher. Now that Marco has been developed over a year, and like he is head and shoulders above this other guy now. And this other guy was considered the best, you know what I mean, like in the organization. And now Marco is a fucking killer, right? Because he's taken the time to develop himself and use his natural talent to then move forward instead of being lazy like a lot of people do. I didn't really have much natural talent in sales, if I'm perfectly honest. Like I've always been good at debating, but that's a slightly different thing. So like I'm good at objection handling naturally. But when I started doing sales, like I was not good. I was really timid which is weird because like I used to kill people for a living. But it was weird. I found it difficult to challenge people. I found it difficult to kind of hold the mirror up to them and not let them get away with stuff. But I just had to get good at it. And there was a couple of courses that worked quite well for me. I don't particularly agree with the way that those courses are run now that I have a lot more knowledge, but to get it up to a certain standard, they were definitely helpful.
Yeah, there's certain types of sales that work best depending on your certain level of things, because you need to have a certain amount of experience to understand and grip the concepts on some of those, such as Jeremy's course. If you did that 5 years ago, you wouldn't take anything out of it. Yeah,
would have gone way over my head. Yeah, things when you start to get deep on tonality and like strategic pausing and that kind of stuff, like when you start to get into that side of things, like your sales go, like it's the difference between a scratch golfer and a pro golfer. A scratch golfer has a 0 handicap, but like they are nowhere near the same level as someone who's a pro. And so it's that level of consistency and that level of tonality. Like even when you just speak to Eli, like you hang off every word he says, and he can sell you anything at any time, and you won't even know you're being sold. But you'll just beg him to. You just go. He has people. He shows me the messages. Like he has people literally just trying to throw money at him, and he says no like 90% of the time. But that brings us to our course that we're running. So that's something that we're doing right now. We're doing a fitness specific sales course. I haven't really seen anybody do it, which is the reason why we're doing it. There's a massive need for it.
There's a lot of sales courses out there, but none of them specific to an industry. And we have the most experience in fitness sales. So we thought, why don't we do a fitness sales specific course, particularly with right now, a lot of gyms and people who are in fitness, they didn't believe that they could sell fitness over the phone and would have people come into their gyms or that to purchase. But right now that doesn't exist because all the gyms are shut and they're moving online. So it's absolutely crucial to learn how to take payment over the phone, which was something in the industry that hadn't happened for the last 5 years unless you were in a select few organizations that specialized in it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's what we did because like we used to open gyms, so the gyms you couldn't come into them.
Yeah.
So like you just couldn't do it. So that's what.
And I come in and see the gym. No, it's a warehouse right now. It'll be open in 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. But give us the money now, and we'll promise to be ready.
Maybe.
Yeah. So and fitness, I think, is a slightly different form of sale. I think you can't do callbacks. You have to be a little bit rougher on people. You have to really be able to quickly get to the reason why and the real ramifications of not acting. You just don't have the time because, you can't spend an hour with somebody to sell something for $1,000. Like it's honestly just not worth it. I know that sounds crazy, but like, it really is the case. Like it's just not expensive enough to warrant the amount of effort that you have to go through.
Or the follow-up.
Yeah, and the follow-up, just no one picks up the fucking phone on fitness if you don't sell on that first call, they're gone. Like 999,000 times
100%.
out of a million, they're gone. And so it's a very particular framework. And because you get every objection in every sale, you have to be very good at pre-handling objections and handling objections. So the script that I used and I developed came from me literally doing 5 gyms at once all over the country and even in other countries, having to sell all different products and all different rates and services with the exact same script, being able to bounce from one lead to another. And so I just
because you can't change a script when you're dialing 5 different people at once and for a different service.
And I was selling everything from $100 a week to £100 a week to one payments of $600. I had a gym in Perth that I was selling for where, I could only dial for 2 hours a day and I made 50 a month, 50 sales a month for, I think it was $397. And
cool.
like I could literally only dedicate 2 hours a day to it because there was time zone differences and stuff like that. So it was a little bit of a nightmare of when I can get people to pick up the phone. But I had to do 4 sales a night. I had to, and and I only had 2 hours to do it. So I was calling from 8 to 10 my time, PM. So I was doing dials for 2. It was fucking rough, but like we were doing a revenue share, and so I needed to make a certain amount of money. So, and it worked out. I did it 3 months in a row. So yeah, so the system that we
had enough
developed
and went, I can't do this anymore.
fucking man, it was. But I think there's a tremendous opportunity for people who are in shit areas as well to expand outside their area and then be able to break even on their gym, have a place to train, have a place to have fun, and then shoot content, and then have a fucking rocking online business. You know, there's 7 billion people in the world. All you need is like 100. If you have 100 online, if you have 100 online clients paying you, you know, a couple $100 a month, like you're a fucking happy chappy.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. So there's it's very, you know, very little spend. Even the ads are cheap.
Well, cheaper right now because half the gyms are closed down, so there's no competition. So you're getting about 1/3 to a quarter of the price of the leads that you were 2 months ago, which is absolutely insane.
So like I had about 5 or 6 fitness business coaches reach out to me and ask me to do sales training for their guys, and I was like, well, no. Like you can buy it off me, but I'm not just gonna like teach all you guys how to sell online fitness. Because it took me fucking years to figure out how to do that. I'm not just
and we can't do that over one hour interview. Like it's just impossible.
And just giving someone a script is a waste of time. Like because
sorry guys, we just had a little introduction. I'll edit that out with the skipping of the channel there. So Matt, just go back to your at.
You
can't give someone a script. Yeah.
It doesn't work when you just give someone a script because they won't deliver it properly. They don't understand the principles of what you're trying to do with the script.
Well, why?
Yeah, like so, you know, if you don't understand why you're saying something, but you're just saying it, like you're not going to know the forks in the road that you're going to be presented, and so you're just going to end up fucking it up. Like it doesn't work. It's a waste of time for everybody. So you need to be taught like how to say it, why to say it, when to say it, the actions on, and then like have the tracking to prove that it's working, figure out what parts of the call are working and what are not working. So like, you know, you got to learn how to adapt it to what you do specifically. You got to learn how to pre-handle the objections that your particular niches are going to get. So like just giving someone a script, in my opinion, is a waste of time. You need to have like some context behind what you're doing. So like we have a 4-week course, $1,000 money back guarantee, how to sell fitness, get credit card over the phone. And we prove that we can do it by hopping on a call with you and taking your credit card details and taking $1,000 off you. Then you even get the recording for that call, and that's the framework that you're going to be taught how to do.
Yeah, we'll actually set a homework task. We'll give you the recording of that call of you signing up and make you analyze how we sold you, which is extremely valuable.
Yeah. So I've never seen anyone do that before, but that's how I'm going to do it. I have 100% close rate with anyone who's ever asked me to sales train them. It's, you know, I think I've sold it, like I haven't had that many people, but it's probably like 20 for 20, something like that. Because if you want to learn how to do sales, then you got to have someone teach you. So it's pretty simple. But yeah, so that's kind of, that's what we're doing at the moment.
Yeah, cool. So I think that sort of runs up most of what we're going to, because we don't want these to go on for hours and hours. But what we want to do is like a major segment on this show is particularly when we get some guests on, is we want to run through the best objections or the most funniest objections that we've had for that week, and then have our guests give the best objection or the best sort of outcome of a call that they've ever had. So Matt, best objection you've ever had?
The most infuriating one that I ever had was I was selling for Hypo VT, so hypothyroid body transformations, run by Andrew Gosen, probably one of the most successful online personal training programs in the world. And it was a Maori lady in New Zealand, and she spent probably $150 to $200 a week on cigarettes, and then probably another $100 a week on McDonald's. And she told me that she didn't have enough money to lose weight to do the program, which was $100 a week. And I went down one of the most vicious objection handling cycles I've ever done on somebody, because I was like genuinely aggravated. she just ended up hanging up on me. Right? She was a lost cause. It was incredibly, it was torturing, watching, and she was like 60 to 70 kilos overweight, and she was spending that much money on cigarettes and McDonald's. And she was like, "Oh no, it's just too expensive." I was like, "What if you just stop eating McDonald's?" And she was just like,
"Why would I do that?
why would I do that? You're a fucking
doesn't make sense.
person.
I'm trying to lose weight."
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was pretty crazy, but that was one that is always stuck in my mind of like, man, like, and I replayed that call like 10 times trying to figure out what frameworks I could have got to get her to buy. I just think she was, in my opinion, there's 10% of people who will never buy and 10% of people who will buy almost no matter what you say. So there's an 80% in the middle there that if you can learn how to close half of them, then you're going to be doing pretty well. But yeah, it's an interesting conversation. What about you?
The best one wasn't an objection that I actually had then and there on the phone, but they got a bit of buyer's remorse and tried to pull out after the fact, after they'd already paid and wanted a refund. So I sold this girl into, I think it was a really cheap offer. It was when I was first sort of got into sales. I think it was about $150 for like a 2-week trial or a 4-week trial or something. And she's good. She's all day. Hasn't come in for a session. Obviously got nervous feet. And then I get a text message from her saying, "Hey, I've actually changed my mind. I can't do the program because my washing machine's broke down, and I need to sort that out."
My washing machine's broke. Fantastic.
And I figured it's either one or two things. It's like, one, you got to buy a new washing machine, and you can't afford the program right now because you need the cash to sort out your washing machine. That's what I figured that her point was. I'm like, no, it's a financial objection. It's not a washing machine objection. But it actually turns out she just had more anxious about the fact of not having enough clothes to train in each week and not being able to wash them so she would smell.
That makes sense. That's a perfectly reasonable objection. Yeah.
I thought it was funny, but there's things called laundromats. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the best objection I ever had, mostly because it was the funniest one.
I had a guy that I trained PT, right? This is at George Street Fitness First, and he was one of the, the crazy guys at the gym. Like, he wore a bandana and used to spend the first 10-15 minutes of his gym time warming up, doing like Tai Chi. No, doing like Tai Chi and like kicking. You know what I mean? Like doing these big kicks and like anyway, he was a weirdo. And I did some strength testing with him, and then I came back to him and I was like, okay, this is it. And he goes, "You know what? I've decided I'm actually too much of an athlete to be trained by someone who's only been a trainer for 6 months." I was like, "You know what, buddy? I think you're right." It's like, I think you should just go ahead and train with like some sort of like Olympic level athlete. But yeah, that was a funny one. He was like a middle-aged fat dude. Like, he wasn't. He thought he was like, I think I did too much of a good job of like building him up in the session. You know what I mean? Like, because that's kind of what I was
to make him realize that he wasn't strong. Yeah, it was more of an ego quit. He's like,
yeah, it was really weird. He was like, "No, I'm at a pretty high level. I don't think you're good enough to train me." I was like, "You know what, bud? It's fair enough. You can
I had an elite athlete once that was on a very, very strict nutritional plan, and they come up saying, "Oh, look, sorry, I haven't been able to eat my food this today. Like, I've had some issues." I'm like, "Oh, well, that's not good enough. Like, your contract is, you're getting paid a couple $100,000 a year to be able to perform. You need to follow this plan. What's the issue?" And he sent me a photo of his lunchbox. He got run over by a forklift, and it crushed all his food. I'm like, "Oh, well, it's still edible." He goes, "I totally would have eaten it." It was all hair gel smushed into his food. I was like, yeah, that's actually one of the best excuses, because it's true.
People are funny.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's about enough time for today, I think.
I think so too. I got shit to do. It's the weekend.
All right.
Not really.
All right, see you guys.
Coronavirus, we're stuck inside, but have a good one. It was great chatting. I hope you enjoyed our first podcast. Stay tuned. We'll have more. Subscribe. Do all that good stuff. Thank you, guys.
Whatever you do with the podcast. All right. See ya.
Bye.